Nation, what's up? So jacked for this. I hope you guys are jacked for this. If you guys have these bottles, you're probably jacked for this. Brian, what are you doing with your microphone, dog?
What was it doing?
I
I couldn't tell. Is it sounding bad right now?
No, you sound great.
I just moved it. I just moved it a touch.
Wow,
Just
moved touchy.
It a touch.
Yeah, it's a little touchy. A little touchy.
Sorry, need to get a new cable.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have a slightly lower turnout tonight because this is very nation specific, these barrel picks. But you know what I thought would be good for the people who don't even have the picks but are here to hang out is, of course, we taste them, but we try and talk about the difference between tasting them while we were there on site versus now tasting them in the bottle. Because to me that, I've been nervous, very nervous for this experience because I really, really enjoyed what we were tasting on site. Otherwise, we wouldn't have picked them. And so then I've been hearing people who have been tasting these as they have gotten the bottles, which I have not tasted them. And I'm hearing this feedback, make sure you let it open up, give it a day, pour it out for a while. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, I'm super nervous for this, but I'm excited. I'm more excited than nervous. Nation,
Good.
Thank you. What's that?
These barrels sold out. It did not take long. That's dope.
Yeah, it's super dope. Yeah, and hopefully everybody who wanted one was able to get one. Yeah, the deal with buying whiskey online is you can't taste it before you buy it. So that's really why I'm nervous. My hope has been that those who have trusted us with the whiskey they should buy, that I would deliver, that we would deliver, So that's it. It's not even a pride thing. It's I really don't want to let somebody down. Maybe that's pride. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Anyway, Nation, Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy. We do have a whiskey blind later. If Christian Huber does not show up, there is a possibility. So we're not overblowing it, but he might just jump in at some point to the live, and then we'll chat with him. We'd like to do a full pod episode with him before too long.
He definitely told me that he had a dinner and he'd pencil it in, but he wasn't sure if he'd make it. And he definitely was just on Bourbon Lynn's. So it was definitely just on an Instagram live. So
which is okay. No big. Fine. Maybe that was the dinner.
You're entirely right. Maybe it was.
Or maybe
a family dinner with someone who is Bourbon Lynn's. It's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway. What are you drinking?
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about it. Well, today, since we're going to be drinking craft whiskeys from Starlight, I'm warming up with a craft whiskey. Granted, this is MGP, but it's a craft blend. Smoke Wagon. This is their bottom shelf, if they have a bottom shelf. It is 92.5 proof, the standard Smoke Wagon bourbon. I also have the Smoke Wagon small batch. I've tried the uncut unfiltered once just from a sample somebody sent me, which was dank of them. And this is fine. It's quite young. It's clear that the MGP that goes into this is not their top tier bottles. That said, it's not bad. It's just very, very light MGP. It reminds me a little bit of New Riff, but with less flavor than a lot of the New Riff picks I've had. So I'm getting it's like watered down honey. It's got a little bit of a medicinal chemical finish. Nothing terribly off-putting like swimming pool or Band-Aid or cigarettes. That said, it just tastes like young high rye distillate.
Man, now I kind of want to find a pick that tastes like, what was the first thing you said?
Swimming pool.
Swimming. I want to find a pick and we can name it swimming pool.
No.
Band-Aids and cigarettes.
Pass. It's a hard pass. I'm all for pipe tobacco. I think that would be a fine, a redeemable tasting note. But cigarettes not so much for me. One other thing before we get to what you were drinking, I was just over, when I was getting things up, I was on Drums and Drams channel tonight, and that dude, he had set up a premiere video that Cameron is his name. He may jump in chat later. but it was a concert. You know, he's a concert percussionist, and he was pairing his music with bourbon. It was.
Oh, that's.
I mean, you've got to like the xylophone. I'll tell you that. Like, if you're a xylophone guy, it'll be right up your alley. But that dude has some mad skills. Like, some prime respect needed to be given out to that guy. That was pretty remarkable. So, if you guys, if you're into the xylophone, jump over to the drums and drams channel at some point and check out
how much
what Cam was doing.
glockenspiel is there? Do you know?
I couldn't tell you what a glockenspiel was, but I think that's pretty awesome.
If you know what a glockenspiel is, smash that like button.
Tom says he thinks it's called a vibraphone. Well, xylophone, vibraphone. He had hammers and he was hammering the thing and making noise.
That also could be a hammered dulcimer.
Yeah. No, it was not a hammered dulcimer. I knew that from what's his name? Phil Mullins Rich Mullins. Rich Mullins. Which those
that's
things,
right. He did play the hammered dulcimer, doesn't he?
That guy was a boss. He? Yeah, he's been dead a long time.
Yeah.
All right, what are you drinking, Brian?
I am drinking. I met up with a buddy to give him, I don't know, some of the. What did he get? Cognac? Maybe he got a cognac or two of the Starlight picks. And he gave me samples of their group's double oaked rye. And he gave me a sample of their French oak. So I am drinking the Starlight French oak right now, which I actually don't remember if we talked about this on the podcast where we were talking about the pick, but the trip that I went to Starlight before you came, when I went there and just was tasting stuff, and when I came across some of the barrels, one of the ones I had earmarked for us was a French oak bourbon that tasted like the most delicious sweet cereal, like Golden Grams. It was chef's kiss. It was so good. And he said that it sold between the time that we got there. And I don't know if this is it or not, but it's nice. It's nice.
Sorry, I'll turn off my text notifications. That was so loud.
Tom says that Christian just finished on Bourbon Lens, so I don't know. Maybe he'll pop on. Maybe he won't.
That would be. You should just text him right now. Just like, hey, reminder, we're live. If you want to jump in, just whenever. Just text him now, or everybody blow him up on Instagram right now, saying, "Why aren't you?"
That's right. Yeah, shoot Christian Huber a line on Instagram and say, "Hey, you gonna jump on the Entry Proof Live? Can't wait to see you."
Yeah,
I'd love for him to come on because he's like, wow, a lot of people apparently want me to be on.
Yeah. All right, so I'm getting some like light Granny Smith apples out of this smoke wagon right now. I mentioned kind of watered down honey, light Granny Smith apples.
Yeah, if anybody, I saw someone in here who said it. Beginning Bourbon, Smoking Wagon, Uncut, Unfiltered is just amazing. Snag one if you see it. I actually got one this week, and if you did not see, I immediately opened it and did a video about this this week. Incredibly impressed. I didn't know what to expect. I've had Smoke Wagon one time. It was a private pick. Like what do they do? 11 or 12 year picks. This was, I don't know, a year or so ago or more. That was the only experience I've had with Smoke Wagon, but everyone keeps talking about them, and you keep seeing that cowboy hat and those cigars. And
oh, look who just showed up.
Who's that? What's up?
Christian's in the. Let's add him. Here we go.
Heyo!
What's up, man?
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Hey, Christian, are you able to turn your screen where you show up horizontal instead of portrait? Boom. Thank you. Yep. I got to change our background.
It's a Bald and Bond right there.
Yeah, a little Bottle and Bond tonight. And again, I'm actually live from my family home. We had a little family dinner tonight and couldn't make it back to my house before it started. So I was like, might as well just use my phone and jump in and get on with you guys and have an awesome conversation.
Sweet.
Dude, I heard you talking about some Sauterne on the Bourbon Lens or whatever you're just on.
Oh yeah. With live with Jake on, they did a Sauterne pick from us. Really cool little, like I said, Bordeaux, France, little sweet wine. But that's not what we're here to tonight. I mean, we got to talk about your two phenomenal casts that we just picked and got in the bottle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I actually have not tasted them yet. We're about to do that, and then we'll interview you as long as you want to stay on the stream. Of course, no pressure. I mean, you
Thank
just
you.
did family dinner, and I mean, at this point, Lord knows how much alcohol you have in your system, but I'm sure we'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah, it was a good dinner. I mean, we had a few bottles of wine, but again, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. I mean, we make it work. All right. So I was just sharing. I was pre-gaming with a little Smoke Wagon, their standard release, because it was kind of lighter. So I didn't want to drink anything too overly oaked, overly aged before we get into this. All right, squad. Are you guys ready to taste these things? We'll start with the apple brandy finish bourbon. So this one's 112.2 proof, aged 5 years. And Christian, one of the things we said we were going to talk about was the difference in tasting on site versus tasting in after it's been bottled. Because I was sharing with everybody that I felt some pressure. Like, I love these things when we're on site, but what's it like when it gets in the bottle, when people buy it after we told them to buy it and get it in their home? Hopefully it's as good as we remember. So
there is a huge thing when you're in the distillery and you're smelling things, and the distillery it has aromatics. It has ways to change the overall perception of whiskey. I mean, it's a real problem I face. I pick for a little mom and pop here in Southern Indiana, so when I'm out doing tastings at other distilleries, one of the hardest things to do is disconnect what you're smelling around you for what's before you in your glass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the nose on this. Unfortunately, Christian doesn't have these, but he's got something else. Brian, what are you pulling off the nose on the apple brandy? I get a big fig, like a dried fig note, right up in the old nostrils.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's some sort of I can't pinpoint it specifically, but I feel like it leans floral in some sort of way, and it's really like sticky. It's got like a deeper saturation to it, which might be the fig that you're talking about. But it comes off more like honey to me, but it's not super sweet honey like some can be, but it's still a honey.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, you said sticky. I was like, yeah, I get that. That is what I'm thinking of. When I think of figs, I've had a lot of dried figs. Costco actually has a pretty solid deal on dried figs. So I like to throw back some dried figs. Convenience.
To be honest, there's a note. I don't know if you remember me saying this. I don't even know if I should bring it up. There's a note that I brought up when we were at the pick, but I still get it. And it still kind of smells like copper pennies. But I really like it.
Yeah, I would never ever, and we talked about that, I think, on the channel as well, but I would never attribute that as a positive thing.
We got this wine guy, and he's like, that's not an aroma. That's nothing.
One of the blessings, if I can jump in real quick, is that
Please do.
I love listening to people, talk about our whiskey, because what me and Blake and Dad get, we always think about, I wonder if people are getting, notes similar to what we smell in the distillery, which is, it's always so much fun to hear people, talk about our whiskey, and it brings a smile to my face. But it's a cool project. I mean, speaking that the apple brandy was all estate grown apples that went into this. For everyone who's listening, I mean, where you guys were at, I mean, we have an 800-acre farm that produces everything from strawberries that are you picking right now to apples. Like I said, this apple brandy finish, this was actually apples that were harvested off the farm, distilled in our Christian Carl still. Then that was aged for anywhere between 6 and 10 years. And then that freshly dumped cask is what I filled back up with the 3 and 4 grain. And it sat in the rick inside of the still house where it's super, super hot. And then do you remember that barrel was a Zach Cooper from the old barrel head? And Zach is most notably in Knob Creek for whenever you do your knob picks. I mean, that's what they like to use. But the wood itself was a 12-month air dried. And what it really expressed to me personally, whenever I was bottling the ones, yours and others, was, I had that bright floral note that I get off apple brandy right at the initial nose. And then back, I was reminded of the rye spice that came through, the baking spice, which I really liked. But there was such a cask variation for the ones closer to the window comparatively to the ones out closer to the actual still, the heat. So it's kind of crazy to see the different cask variation.
So on site, I think I was pulling some like Dr. Pepper off of this, like some fruitiness, but really, really dark molassesy. I was surprised by the amount of oak I tasted on this, given its age. On site again, before this hits my palate, I'm just trying to recall for folks like what we had in the moment. And it was really the syrupy sweetness, maple to that drew me into this one. Brian, what were you having in the distillery that kind of pulled you before we talk about what we taste in the now?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what Christian was just saying. We did try a barrel in closer to the still first, and we were like, this is good, and it's sweet and it has good flavors to it. Like, this tastes good. This is the direction that seems like it would be a win. It was once we got to this one that we tasted a depth to it that I feel like I don't necessarily get in a lot. Now, again, Christian's obviously tasted way more of their barrels than I have had the chance to taste, but it tasted like it had more depth to the pour for the bourbon. The bourbon tasted enriched. It tasted older than what the ages are.
Yeah,
these 4 and 5 years.
And yours, remember, had that leak in it as well. So I mean, yours yielded out significantly lower than the other ones comparatively in the line. So having that leak and having that extra oxidation, not as a short barrel, but as a lesser barrel, I mean, that could have made the depth and that thicker mouthfeel just because that leak that was slowly draining out, which could be attributed to the mouthfeel.
So speak on this if you can, and maybe you can't, but from wine, from whiskey, the differences between the two. This smells so much sweeter and deeper the longer it's sitting in this glass than if I take the bottle, I pour it in there, it's a lot more crisp. It's a lot more fresh. It's less depth, or it doesn't have all that stickiness or whatever.
Yeah.
What is doing that? Why is that happening?
It comes down to a fight that everyone calls with those first cracks, or that first pour off a bottle.
The neck pour.
The neck pour, unless you're Wilderness Trail, and then it's just kind of in the middle. But it's so interesting to see like people argue about that, and what's kind of going on not microbially, I should say, but what's going on in the molecular level is that you have a lot of chains that are built up, all those esters that are all cleaved together. What oxygen does is they unbind those when you get it into your glass, and the more you let it sit in glass, the more of those esters uncleave themselves. They'll sit in the bulb of your glass, and then you smell them as aromatics. Most notably, that happens with wine a lot more intensely comparatively to spirits, but it does happen in spirits as well. I mean, you have very densely, bonds in there. You have those esters that are all chained together, and as you uncleave them, that's the reason I always tell people, I'm like, pop your cork, pour a glass out of it, taste it, and then come back to it a day or two later and taste it again, because it will change with a little bit of oxygen. And that's contributed to probably what you're getting on the first crack compared to when it sits in your glass as well. I'm a big component of decanters that way, allowing your spirit to open up, to let it breathe for a second, let those esters get a chance to really express themselves in the way that you might have tried it at the distillery, rather than tight inside a bottle that's just been heated up a bunch, cooled down a bunch, has extra pressure, has some ethanol inside of it. I mean, that's what I always got to say.
Is there
Brian, you're gonna have to write. We gotta taste this, man. You got so many questions.
Let's go.
Yeah, hold your question. We can come back to it, but I know other people are like waiting to taste. So real quick, give me any nose notes you have, Brian, because I'm getting some like apple pie, like fresh apple pie, like filling in it. Like, I mean, it's kind of caramel.
It's got that, like the honey. It's got the graham cracker crust. It's got all this, some good sweet stuff. We've talked about the apples, some nutmeg on there, the baking spice. So we won't have to talk anymore about that. I mean, if the people aren't here ready to taste, let's do a cheers.
I get a little Yeah, I get a little fresh oak on the nose too. I'll just add that too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
there's some freshness in it still. Like there's some reminiscence of youth. But cheers, guys. Well, Heim.
Cheers, everybody.
Think about it for a minute. Packs a wallop, and it's an evolving oral experience. Put it that way. I just swallowed wrong. Okay, here's what it's really, really sweet initially. Hits the front of the tongue, big sweetness. And I like that apple pie filling descriptor on the nose. It carries through to the palate. And then as it like spreads back across the tongue, it's like the volume goes up on spice and heat. And I get walloped with like a cinnamon kind of black pepper. And then it lingers for days with that cinnamon black pepper on the back of the palate. Tom, thanks for the color commentary. Yeah. I mean, you could make a lot of shirts that you could sell in, like at Spencer's Gifts or something based on things I say on the pod. But so that's my initial reaction. Brian, do you have initial thoughts? I mean, you've tasted this. This is not your first tasting of this.
That's right. So to me, it does hit right away. What it reminds me of with that big kind of explosion is like a slightly mid to high proof, like Four Roses. There's so much that kind of gets you. And what's nice about the pour just in general is it continues the whole way through. There you go. What is that? What's that one right there?
Lincoln Roads, Jamie's.
Oh, nice.
It's my phone.
And I mean, I would say that's a positive characteristic because I like these pours that just grab you right away. They're gripping, and then they just continue all through. They can take that Kentucky hug and they bring it through. Now, talking about flavor, it's really rich. The mouth feels spreads. There are notes that kind of get into vanilla, but not like overly sweet vanilla. It gets into caramel, but it's not overly like brown sugared. It gets into like maple, but it's not overly sweet. It hits on some of these kind of sweet flavors mixed with the spice. It has, especially on like the second, third, once you sip on it a little bit more, you notice, like you said, cinnamon. It reminds me of like a cinnamon icing or a sweeter cinnamon, less a drying cinnamon mixed with what I call sweet oak. So it's not exactly leathery. It's not really old, worn, or tired oak. It's just like
to me
fresh sweet oak.
The oak component is more fresh oak than what I got in the distillery. So I like the apple pie descriptor. It's like the apple pie topped with black pepper. And then at the end, you just walloped the apple pie with a slab of fresh oak. It's like if you were to describe the experience through a violent action against an apple pie. Not that this is an American Pie reference, but it would be like you violated the pie with a slab of fresh oak. So I think the finish to me is more the drying cinnamon. Like it's kind of, it may be sweeter cinnamon up front, but then the finish is like that drying black pepper spicy. I like the evolution of it, and I really, really like the front. And I'm maybe the heat and that spice will tone down some as I work through the bottle. But I'm generally pleased. It's not quite as rich and viscous as I remember on site. But that said, tasting it up against the smoke wagon that I just had, the standard smoke wagon, I'm on team our pick, like substantially. Like it's substantially better. It's got a lot more depth and layers, more fruitiness, which I enjoy.
Well, did you say this was a blend of 3 and 4 grain that you had?
Yeah. So it is a blend of 3 and 4 grain. So you got a lot of the big Canton barrels that my brother put out. and a little bit of the threes that I put out. So it's interesting. So the 51 20 29 and the 60 20 20 mash bills that we produce. And again, I mean, it's honestly a compliment to hear you guys talk about, our product so highly. I mean, hell, I'm 25 years old and my brother's 23 years old. This is some of the whiskey that he was doing whenever he was a senior in high school and a freshman in college. And I was, a sophomore and junior in college when we were putting these back. So we still have a lot to learn in the blending aspects of it. But, it is a compliment since, compared it to Smoke Wagon, which NGP wise, I mean, we're our own distillate and our own take into this crazy thing we call distillation. So it's honestly, when we get compared to someone like that, it's always a, awesome compliment.
Yeah, well, what I have is the standard Smoke Wagon one, which I think they're using really young stuff in this. But I mentioned at the start, it's pretty solid. It's just young. Yeah. The youth, in this bottle is a 5-year. You don't sip it and go like, "Whoa, that's young." If I was drinking it up against, a Big Red 12 Elijah Craig, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably going to hit me with some. The youth notes are probably going to hit me a little bit more than they do right now. So like comparing apples to apples, no pun intended, maybe pun intended, is certainly important. But a really, really solid pour. I got Kyle Ramage's notes here. Kyle was also on the pick. So his notes out of the bottle is apple. So 1 week off open, he says the nose is magical. Flavor is very good. All the youth falls off. It is on the clean/fresh side, but you do get oak, brandy, apple, simple sugar. He says, I am happy. Then tonight he says Fig Newtons, 4 roses spice, nutty, then back to apple cinnamon. So seems like suggestive tasting is happening. But we also got some notes from folks in the chat. John White says he's got peach, apricot, which is basically the same thing, but I mean, maybe you're differentiating. Apple blossom, all on nose, and then peach, dried apple, cinnamon, baking spice, oak, cherry, and earth on the palate. These are all good notes, and we're not off here.
Yeah, and Kyle had messaged me too. He texted me and said he gets that he gets vibes like if you blended 4 roses with Knob Creek. Now just think about that statement for just a second. These products are not 5 years old. They're a lot older than that. You know what I mean? So I think it's just really cool. And you're talking about, it's just right around the corner from me. But I would say that's some high praise. It's some good names to be alongside. What I was doing too, the Heath pick that we had done, which is a 4 grain. When I taste the Heath, which when I go from apple brandy to the Heath, I'm like, oh yeah, this Heath is awesome. But then when I go back to the apple brandy,
I wasn't at the Heath one.
No, you were not. But all the sweetness, the apple brandy is so good when you come off of a 4 grain. It's so good.
And what's crazy too to think about is, as a distillery, I mean, we're trying to put our age statement up. Me and Dad and Blake just tasted all of our 7 and 8 year old cask. It's crazy to see the evolution of how and what's coming up. Again, in the craft whiskey, what kind of Starlight was founded at is that we wanted to be a distillery, not an independent bottler. And I'll be the first thing. I collect Sarah's Old Scout barrels. I've collected Willet NGPs. I've collected, the Berntheim. I mean, tasting those and, all around. But we set out to be a farm-to-table distillery. And, it took us a long time to get that 4-year and 5-year statement. But now that we're trying, very, very small amount of 7 and 8s, we're just smiling thinking we can't wait till we get up there. I mean, it's a long road. And for you guys to say that about our whiskey now, I mean, I can't wait to have you two back up to at least dabble into the older cask because it is
we can't wait to do that either.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy to see the evolution and the color change. We get decent color where we're at and where our warehouses are located at, but it is insane to see kind of what we have. And we're starting to notice the tier difference. I mean, we're tier 1 through 6. Warehouse 2 is 1 through 5. Warehouse 3 is 1 through 6. Warehouse 4 that we're breaking on ground is 1 through 6 as well. We really didn't notice the difference between year 1 and year 5, but year 6 and year 7, you're starting to see the difference between the bottom barrels and the top barrels drastically on yield and on color. Those tier 6, like 7.5, 8-year-old stuff that's starting to get ready. It's like, And, it's insane to see the difference of like where we're drinking now at 4.5 and 5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
The longer that I poured a decent amount of this, and so the more my palate gets acclimated to the alcohol, the more the viscosity kind of comes through. And by the time we tasted this barrel on site, we had a lot of alcohol, and this was like the last one we had. So it would make sense that maybe my palate was a little more numb to the spice at that point, and digging on the richness. And the more alcohol I have tonight, the more I'm picking up like sweet, viscous, syrupy richness, unless I'm getting that violating young oak I mentioned earlier.
Christian, I don't remember if I've asked you this or not, but do you have a favorite finish that you guys have done, whether it be on a bourbon or on a rye, or do you have something that you're just like, man, I just love this?
I mean, I do. I mean, I have favorites within them, within the category speaking too. One of the favorite projects that isn't released yet, which is that Tokai. We did that Tokai. Yeah, you remember that one? I mean, it is.
Yes.
It is one of the. For those who are listening, Tokai is that it's a botrytized wine from Hungary. Very different than Sauterne. It's the ferment grape and very, very concentrated. We used the 2004 vintage Essentia level Tokai, and it made a very, very deep, complex orange, raisiny, honeyed rye. And at 5 years, and then I finished it, I believe, for 7 months. I think is where I bottled them at. I would have to, run the exact numbers, but that project stands out. And the 1963 and the 1979 cognac, those two casks, those ryes that came out, that you guys got to try that day as well. I mean, those two products stood out this year so far. Tomorrow morning, I'll be waking up around 5 a.m. and I'm heading down to our importer. I have a Spanish container that just hit this morning. So I'll be the first guy to go take a bids at some old port, old sherry, old Madeira barrels, and more VDM.
Nice.
So, I mean, I have to get there before Diageo and Pernod Ricard and Heaven Hill do.
Right.
So they have what you call much bigger wallets than me. So I'm just the little guy who gets to run in there and smell the cask as they're coming off the truck and try to roll some in mine. So
That's right.
But that's also why I find these weird and wild casks. I think I'm the first one there. I drink coffee with the guys and I smell every single cask that comes off the truck. For instance, there was 70 VDN, and I think it was like 75 or 80 VDN cask, and I picked the top 8 that I wanted to take that were awesome. I know where the other ones went. I've denied Mizunara oak as well, so it's just about finding the authenticity of the product that I love and figuring out the best cask possible. I don't have a deep portfolio. So
guys, I got baby problems. It sounds like I got to run upstairs. You guys keep chatting about Mizunara and sourcing oak, but I got to go deal with this thing.
Yeah.
It was the 63 is where I don't remember where it ended up going. I don't know if you've done more than just the 163, or if I need to holler at it was like TFBC or something like that.
Yeah, TFBC. But I had a couple of them. So the thing is, everyone thought I had one of one, and I actually had more than, they came off the truck as pairs on the same racks. So, I at that point, I never did a cognac finish. And I was, wondering the difference between cognac and bourbon and cognac and rye. And again, that comes down to being very, very young in my career. And I wanted to understand the differences between bourbon and rye, but also focusing under should I do 3? Should I do 4 grain? Should I do a blend? And in the rye, I was like, should I do Canton barrels or should I do Kelvin barrels? And again, I always like to say this. I still got a lot to learn, and all my batch 2s and batch 3s, I'm getting better at what I do, critiquing what they are. But, I'm really excited to see how these bourbon cognacs come out. For you in particular, though, the release that will be coming, I think it's next week or the following week, of that Tokai rye. Definitely come up and taste it in bottle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll
be up. I should be up there next week for the cigar release.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I mean, June 4th, for anybody who's listening, that cigar that Umbriana finished will be coming out. It is a crazy, definitely the most interesting whiskey I think we put out under our label to date. Brazilian oak finish, bourbon whiskey. Spice rack. It has that retro nasal of smoke. I don't know how to put it. I mean, you might be able to put it more nicely than me, but it is a crazy thing. It's already sold out. So you signed up, it sounds like, but it sold out. It only took us, I think it was an hour and 20 minutes when the link went live to when it was gone.
You'll have to, I mean, this is like insider baseball, but you'll have to let me know what's the deal with that. I saw that there are 2 different bottles. Is it kind of like you just get your pick of them? Do you get to taste them and then decide which one? Can you get one of each? Like what's the deal with that?
So there's 1 per person right now. You get to taste them, you get to choose. I'm not denying or confirming that there's going to be more bottles sitting there to buy the other one at the end of the night after 7:30. I can't tell you there's not extra bottles, but there's a chance for people are going to get both. But it's, they're crazily different. I mean, it's Blake's rendition of it and my rendition of it. Mine's 112. Blake's is 109. 2 different cooperages blended in Mizunara oak. Or Umbriana oak. So they're very different and unique. So when you guys try it, one's dipped in copper, which is Blake's, and mine's dipped in gold. It's insane to taste its subtle nuances and differences because, it's the same oak, same Starlight distillate shown in 2 very different ways. And that's why we did it. I mean, we try to make whiskey for the geeks. We try to make whiskey for people who really want to dig into what it is and really know. That's why we show all 7 cooperages. That's why we show the charts. That's why we show the age statements and the whole 9 yards. We want people to see the variability rather than having, these massive batches of whiskey come out. We want to see people see the nuances between me and my brother and my father and vice versa. But definitely come up beforehand because I got something that I'm not going to say on here, something to show you though.
Yeah, I will say too. So maybe you can tell us was the aging on Blake's versus yours different? Because we tried some that have been aging for a while, and it's musty. It's like different. It tastes like you're smelling the inside of an old cigar box. But then we tried the one that was only in for just a little bit, and it tasted like a Christmas cookie. And it's they're both those profiles were different, but so good.
Well, and there's 2. Yes, you are correct. There's 2 different barrels that were aged different times at different places. Blake's a lot more moderate temperatures, less temperature swings. Mine, a heat spike and a cold spike as well. So, or I should say, a cold spike and then a heat spike. So, very different takes onto the same product, and that's why we did them at 2. It actually was Scott Early's idea to, do the difference in different wax and keep them separate because when we were tasting them, they couldn't be further apart. But you can tell they're definitely undeniably Starlight Distillery. But the 2 releases, when we're deciding to either do a batch or individual, we're like, we're Starlight Distillery. These should be their own single barrels and they should be geeked upon, and rather than just blended as a mass generic product.
2-barrel mass. Real quick, a mass.
Yeah,
mass is relative. All right, Christian, how comfortable are you if I compare your apple brandy finished bourbon single barrel to Watershed's apple brandy?
Go right. You're not going to hurt my feelings whatsoever. I mean, we're just, I'm just really happy that you guys have me on. To be completely honest, I mean, I'm young in my career and I got a lot to learn, and it's hearing people critique our whiskey is probably one of the things that make our whiskey better.
So, I had tasted this one. I'm up to 63 or something craft whiskeys I've tasted this year, not counting all the barrels we had at Starlight that day. But this one I had early on. Tom sent me this. It's Watersheds out of Ohio. And when I smelled this initially, I didn't know that it was finished. Like, it smelled so light. And I was cleaning up, rearranging my bar today, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need to taste this one again next to ours. And on the nose immediately, it's just very grassy, lemony. Like, you don't maybe get like a suggestion of apple, light apple. But this is 6-year age stated, but it does not taste or does not smell 6-year. Like, it had that much exposure to wood. Like, it feels like it was in a very stable temperature. I don't know how they do their aging, but just didn't feel like the the bourbon interacted much with wood, and then went into apple brandy casks, and it's pretty young, and the palate is really really lemon zesty in that it's kind of a lemony, like what's the cleaner, like a lemon scented 409 table cleaner. Yeah, it's pretty bitter. It's not great. So coming off of this and then going back to our pick, not comparable. It's like it's light years better. So that's my professional opinion, for which I'm not paid. So my non-professional opinion. All right, you guys ready to move to the rye?
Let's do it.
I'm excited about that. This project in particular, I forgot to mention, is probably one of my favorite projects we did this year. The double oak dries.
Nice. Gotta clean up a little bit here.
Well, and going into that, just for the people that are listening, our double oak profile, I had to beg my father to let me put our rye that was already pretty going out the door into double oaked, and he thought I was going to screw this thing up totally. And it was a negotiation for probably about 6 months before he actually let me do this project. But it took, those old 5-year anniversary barrels to change his mind. So,
yeah, I was jacked when I saw those barrels in there, and then you mentioned it. I was like, I wonder how that's going to taste next to the standard rye. And I think the first thing we tasted that day were some of the standard ryes that weren't quite at maturity. And then that second barrel hit. So just recalling my experience there, I was like, okay, the standard Starlight rye, 95.5, right?
90-10.
Okay, super high rye, which I dig. I'm not as big of a fan of the low rye, like Kentucky style ryes. So 90-10, I was all about that. I liked the spiciness I was getting, but I was getting some graininess in those first barrels we were tasting, and then that double oaked hit, and I was like, it rounded that sucker out, provided some depth to match the spice, and I was jiving pretty hard on it. And it was, I think, barrel number 3 we tasted that day. So I think Brian was like, well, just, calm down, cool your jets, let's taste the stuff. But it's really good, man. I think that one's going to be hard to beat. And lo and behold, at least for me, it was pretty hard to beat.
Well, and to you guys, our double oaking is one of probably the hardest thing that me and Blake actually have to do, because you have to monitor them so closely. For double oaking, we took a different philosophy with finishing in general, but we have to taste these casks, after about 6 weeks of aging. We taste it and taste it and taste it and dial it in. We can bring it into the rick houses right now where they're so hot, or bring it into the wine cellar where it's colder to slow down the aging. And we really finesse these barrels, and we use those really extended air-dried barrels, those toasted barrels, that really bring out the Maillard reaction, those sweet butterscotch, those caramel notes, the depth that you'd get off older whiskey. That's what we're looking for. But it's something we're really proud about, to say that, this, like the sister barrel next year's wasn't bottled for another 5 weeks. We picked yours whenever it was showing the best versus next to it, which was out of balance for a while. So it's a finessing game.
So some of the comments in the chat are about the nose of this, and it's a journey. I get bubblegum and licorice and so much floral, so many sweet flowers.
It's gorgeous.
It's crazy floral.
This is one of those ones that I would say it's almost it's a perfect nose. It's candied, it's citrusy, it's floral. It's like everything I want in good Ethiopian coffee.
Yeah, if Cameron Drums and Drams had mentioned this in one of his live streams that he had this. Cam, if you're still in the chat, hit us with your notes, dog. What did you like about this one? But yeah, squad, what else are you guys getting on the nose before we introduce our palates to? And I just hope the palate holds up, because the nose is quite extraordinary. It's reminiscent of a well-aged MGP rye. I feel like MGP ryes just carry this sort of MGP. It smells like MGP. It doesn't smell like anything else. It smells like MGP rye spice, and yours reminds me of that.
It's crazy though to think. I mean, we're both very uniquely different Indiana distilleries, and when we were starting off with our rye portfolio, we're like, what is Indiana rye going to be? And for us, we were like, well, we have to do high rye because we wanted to follow under the great, NGP. And so that's why we decided on 90-10. Super clean it up, take some very, very high cuts. The difference is they have a giant column and we have a little pot still. So it was a hard to really clean it up to get that citrusy nose. I mean, we do a lot of really cleaning with the product, but hopefully, like I said, compliment, because NGP rye is one of my favorite, outright. So it's always a compliment when you get those similar notes.
Yeah, when you say citrus, I sort of get citrus, but then I think through the citrus family, and I'm like, orange, no, lemon, no, lime, no, grapefruit, no, but citrus maybe. So it's like it's got that sharp, bright kind of vitamin C fruit like impact, but it's also not exactly aligning with any of those that I mentioned. John says spearmint. I agree. I get some spearmint up in there, maybe a touch of dill. John also says juicy fruit. Interesting. I thought bubble gum, so we're in the gum family.
Andrew Beck is kind of right where I'm at. He says he said it's not the first part. He says it reminds him a little bit like the Kentucky Owl Rye. And I would agree. There's something about the Kentucky Owl Rye that is unlike other ryes on the market. And I think this nose it does give some nods to that same sort of profile that I still can't quite describe myself.
All right, well, let's just get after it. Let's down the hatch.
Cheers.
Here's looking up your old address. Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. It's so good. This is phenomenal. Oh, my gosh. I'm elated. I am utterly elated with how this tastes. Wow. It's so sweet. It's got enough oak. And I'll break it down in a minute. I'm just going to sit with this because it's still sitting with me. Like, this has moved me. I'm not just saying this because you're here, Christian. Honestly, I don't care that much. I mean, I care that you're here and I'm thankful. But I mean, like, I wouldn't care to offend you if I didn't like your product. I think it's extraordinary.
Thank you.
And I'm going to taste it in a minute next to the Michter's Barrel Strength Rye, which is one of my favorite ryes. So so that'll be a fun taste off here in just a second. All right, I'll give myself a minute to come down to earth. But Brian, I'm excited. I may have to change my pants. Brian, what are you getting?
So
here?
it's intriguing. I think you'll probably say it better, and I don't think you put it in my head, but you probably did. This has. Hold on.
Oh my gosh!
It has a sweetness that I can't quite place. What it is, I don't want to say vanilla. That sounds so basic. There's a sweetness I can't quite place, but then it does get into some candied dill notes. I say this interestingly. There are a lot of people who are like, they don't like the dill ryes. They want baking spice and minty ryes. Everything has their own thing, right? But in some of the old Willet ryes, which I'm assuming are older distilled MGP ryes, there are ones that had a notable dill strand. I am one of the people who enjoy that more than the spearmint. Now, going to just quickly this double oak that my friends in Illuminati up in Northern Kentucky picked, also a double oak rye. It on the nose and then on the palate tastes more like Nashville Barrel Company, modern, current, minty, oaky MGP rye. It tastes like a 7 or 8 year MGP rye. Going back to our pick, it's different.
I love it so
has
much.
sweet-
It's
I can't even describe
berries,
it.
strawberries, and maybe like pomegranate, mixed with like the spearmint is there. A lot of spearmint, but it's like hella sweet spearmint with raspberries, and pomegranates, and sweet oak. Like that extra barrel just took it to level 9.
It
I mean,
has
this
some
is
flavors.
it's so good.
It's what's weird about it being a rye is that it also has flavors of it that remind me of Four Roses. When I go to Four Roses, I'm normally like raspberry, powdered sugar. Those are like key notes I pick out of Four Roses. Also present here, what reminds there's something in here. It has that slight licorice type quality that I notice in the Michter's barrel strength rye, but it comes off too medicinal in the Michter's barrel strength rye, and it's a like layer in here, which I find it's intriguing. It's like a nice placement.
Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna pull. This is 2019 Michter's barrel strength rye,
which is
Dude,
it's one of my favorite products, by the way.
This double oak rye.
No, this Michter's cast, like that is something that I've collected for a long time. All the N10s and all the cast strength stuff they put out. So
yeah, I've got the
There's-
M10
there's-
up there, but that's probably not quite apples to apples.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't
Ling-
either, but we're doing it. Here we go. I've got the
Lingering
Michter's
on the
toasted
palate.
as well, but the Michter's toasted carries a lot more oak, and I
Yes.
actually like our pick better. Like I like that toasted, but not as much as I like this pick.
Lingering on the palate is this like really nice honeycomb note that
Yeah.
like survives past all the spice. But I tell you what I find incredibly intriguing right now is that Drew, you're gonna hate me. There
Copper
is
pennies.
not copper pennies, it's Band-Aid. It's the Band-Aid note. There is something that tastes, and I'm maybe it's the double oak. I don't know. There is something, Christian, that I notice in like Knob Creek products that I notice in whatever this vatted tank stuff is that's floating around, that I notice in some old Heaven Hill stuff, which I have to assume it's related to barrel char or something. It gives this, I don't want to quite, it's in turkey, older turkey. It's not quite medicinal in the way that is like licoricey medicinal, cherry medicinal. It's a kind of funky, woody, and I just say Band-Aidy note. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of the smell of Band-Aids. But I find it in here, but I usually only find it in very old whiskey.
could be too. I mean, a lot of those barrels that we use are, I mean, we source super old oak. I mean, and air dried oak, right? So all of that fungal degradation of lignin when it's sitting in the yard. I mean, that happened a lot with very old barrels. I mean, I'm talking back in like hell. I just opened up a distilled in 1913, bottled in 1917, Old Taylor. You know, when me and Dad and Blake tried that, it's totally different than current whiskeys out. But a lot of older oak, a lot of more mature oak, and back in the day, those fires that they put that are getting those Maillard reaction, those hemicellulose bonds, were very different than today's. Throw it over a propane heat and char the hell out of it. So it could be coming to the degradation of wood in the yard. Plus, I mean, Canton uses really traditional methods to do long, slow, like almost like it's like a linear as they bring up the char and then drop it back down a cooler. It could be something closer to that.
Bam. This is
Get
good.
it? Doing the side by side on the Michter's. It's like the difference between a light roast coffee and a medium. I get more carbon, like more char, out of the Michter's actually, which I would expect out of a double oak product. This is not. I have no idea how old this is. Somewhere probably in the 8 to 10 year range. But I get a decent amount of like drying char here, and without the big pronounced raspberry here. Plenty of mint in the Michter's. An age depth that I like, but then it finishes more dry. Whereas our pick is, you mentioned honeycomb. Yeah, and it's like the viscous honey finish. Let me go back to Starlight here. The spice, this is more balanced. The double oak pick is more balanced than the Michter's. Michter's is good. It's really really good. But comparing these two side by side, I feel like the double oak pick is more balanced. The spice, playing with the fruit, playing with the oak, it sings really harmoniously together. Whereas the Michter's is bold and intense, big spice, big char, but is not quite as symphonic.
Now,
Yeah.
what
That's what I got. If I did it blind, I might say something different. I mean, I was so elated at that first taste that I'm probably biased here. But at the same time, I've tasted other. It's not my first rodeo. So,
Drew, let's go back and do another pick that's a double oaked rye whiskey apple brandy finish.
well, dude, I mean, I don't know that you
Best
can
of
make.
both worlds.
No, I don't think so. I don't think you could make this rye better than it is. I think it's so good.
I didn't say better. It's just something different.
Yeah, I don't know. If I could just drink that the rest of my life, at least where I sit today, I'd be a happy camper.
If you want to see something crazy, though, I mean, next Friday, whenever you're coming up, I got some extended aged double oaks that are ryes that are going on right now. Those the 5 years that are going for the sole purpose of it. They're going a little further than when I would pull it, but just for you to see like a year going towards a year in the double oaked kind of side of things. Just for you to try. I think it would be cool to taste where we pulled yours to where we're trying to take the other one.
Yeah, I'd love to try that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Send me a sample.
I picked up that honey bourbon, but I didn't get the honey rye, but I got a chance last night or 2 nights ago. I went to a buddy's house and we tried that, but we also tried Liquor Barn now has a honey rye pick. Dude, it's stellar. I mean, the bourbon's good, but the rye is great.
We just harvested 150 pounds of honey today off the farm. I mean, our bee guy was out here and he showed us all the honey that he got off. But it's kind of crazy to think that all those bees and all that honey is coming off the property as well. I mean, we're just not buying sourced honey. I mean, it's honey off the property as well. We just actually filled 4 more spring casks of honey filled. So if you want to go down and taste those, they've only been in the cask for like a week. But it's kind of crazy to taste the difference between these honeys coming out. And again, we hesitated on doing a honey finish because so many people were, but we're like, we have the hives on site. We already do honey. It only seems natural for us to, take it one step further and aging it in bourbon barrels and doing an actual bourbon barrel aged.
With a product like that, do you then do you let the honey drip back out, or does it stay in and then just mix in with the whiskey?
No, we let it age for 4 to 6 months, and then we let it drip dry all the way out. There's still some left in there, and then the same day we dump it, we fill it back up with rye or bourbon.
So what happens with that honey?
It's in the gift shop right now. You can buy it. Yep, you can buy it right now. It's sitting in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go buy that. I'm gonna buy that.
It is awesome too. I mean, we'll have some more renditions of the honeys coming out as well. The first ones I'm really, knock on wood, people seem to like, so I'll do a uniquely different batch and see if they prefer batch 1 or batch 2, and then from there we'll kind of take the age statement up as well.
Brian, we lost your image, man.
And I was doing so good. The whole time.
Well, and if I jump off too, my phone says I have 10% battery.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we're just glad you could make it on.
Yeah.
Tom was giving me flack for smelling my arm because I baseline. Like if I feel sensory overload, I smell myself. He said I smell my armpit. I'm not smelling my armpit. I'm smelling my shirt because I don't have, coffee would be another way, smelling coffee to baseline. But yes, baselining is important.
Yeah, and I baseline off my palm right here. I baseline off this all the time.
Yeah, you got to smell something.
Yeah.
The Illuminati Double Oak Rye is nice. It is bright and it's spearmint led. This one's a lot more decadent.
Ours? Well, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, and man, I'm picking up that note that I was talking about seems to come through more on the nose too. It's got some sort of like
I don't get anything reminiscent of Band-Aid though. Like that just seems like you're really pushing it. Like you try and find the notes that anybody would never want to put in their mouth, and you're like, but it's good. I mean, it smells like a Band-Aid, but the kind of Band-Aid that I would want to lick.
I'm not trying to find it. It's just something that I'm sensitive to, that I notice in a lot of products. I'm just mentioning that it's here.
Well, that's fun.
Like, why would I force something in there? Let alone, it's not like I'm going to say like, oh, do you get the gym socks? Man, I love the gym socks note.
Love it.
No way, dude. No way, dude. I'm not that
deeply nostalgic. All
Well,
right.
cool. And I know my phone will die, but I just want to, thank you both too for having me on, at least talk a little bit about picks. And you got two very stellar, different examples of what our portfolio can do and what's on the way. We're now finishing some, we're going in and starting to figure out some 6-year ryes that we might do some finishes with as well, taking the age statement up. We found a few hazmat short barrels out there that are starting to, surface, and we're interested to see what those are going to be doing here in the future. But again, just thank you for taking a chance on our brand and helping tell our story, because at the end of the day, we are a small family brand. I mean, me, my dad, and my brother, I mean, we're trying to make the best we can with our little copper pot still in our story. And it takes guys like yourselves to really help tell us. I mean, we don't spend a lot of money on social media. We try to buy high-end barrels and try to put as much back. So it really means a lot that guys like yourselves really, help pioneer us and put us on the map. Because if not, I mean, we're fighting an uphill battle. We're out of the state of Kentucky. We're in Indiana, and we're non-NGP Indiana. Yeah. So it is a monumentous mountain that we're trying to climb here, but we really.
Well, you guys have gotten some. Yeah, you've gotten some traction. I mean, like we were jacked to do it, and it's an awesome experience to come out there and taste with you guys and taste all the different finishes. So pleasure's all ours. The whiskey is awesome. Reading in the chat, the folks who got them are thrilled. Folks are kicking themselves for not buying more of the rye. I got 6 bottles, and I'm almost kicking myself I didn't get more of it. Because I think it's so phenomenal. So yeah, thanks a lot, Christian.
Back in Double Dip, they sold pretty quickly. Also, Christian too. We'd still love to in a longer form, less just like chit chatty with the chat. Talk about get more of your story recorded for the audio
100%.
podcast. So
yeah, the podcast is really like more about the people stories behind the whiskey, whether they're whiskey personalities or distillers. So yeah, I'm sure the squad would love to hear that side of what you do.
Get me and my brother on there, and it'll be a good banter. And again, whenever you guys want, I know on Friday you're coming back up, so we'll get you we'll taste through cigars, that special cast that I'm not going to say live, but we'll have some fun.
Cool. I look forward to seeing
it's so hard to come down from Milwaukee. Like, that's what blows about being the Milwaukee guy.
Well, just come on. Whenever you're back in town, let me know, and we'll host you.
We'll do, Christian. Right. Thanks a lot, man. We'll see you later.
Good, man. Dude, what a blast.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so jacked for the rye. Like,
dude, go back. If you have some poured, go back and take a sip of this apple.
Yeah, brandy. I did. I saw Kyle's remark. He's like, dude, it's so fruity. This fruity. And so here's the thing with the bourbon, the apple brandy finished bourbon, is when you taste these side by side, I get zero presence of youth in the rye. It's just all good notes. I do get some graininess out of the bourbon when we get back to it. It's very, very fruity. It's on the finish, like the front is fruity and caramely and sweet, but that finish I mentioned kind of raw oak before is a little suggestion of youth. Out of both these picks, that's the worst piece of it. I'm really sensitive to that youthful note. But it, like I said, compared to even the standard Smoke Wagon release, I thought it knocked the socks off of it. So that's me being excessively picky.
Yeah, this rye is like a Sherdunken of all ryes and all styles of ryes.
It has so many flavors, man.
It has every rye profile in it.
Yeah. Hitting this apple brandy one more time. Yeah, I'm gonna just polish these suckers off, and then we'll do a blind. Yeah. So where are we at? I don't have any idea. I don't have YouTube open. What's our likes currently? It is. As I mentioned, I thought it'd be a less attended live, which is totally fine. But I have a surprise depending on how the night goes, how much our squad wants to show up here. Do you have YouTube open, Brian?
No, last time I looked at it, it was like 40.
Yeah, well, that's how many people. I've got the little eyeballs here. Tom, how many likes do we have right now?
We have 27.
Okay, that's fine. We got 42 people in the chat. We need 42 likes. That's the goal. I have a Elijah Craig the pirate bottle barrel proof that I traded a dude for. And unfortunately, it's leaky. The cork does not fit well.
Yeah, that happens. What's proof is it?
So it's hold on.
Oh man, this honey is so good.
The honey finish, Starlight. So 138.8. So massive. But I was like, I wasn't planning on opening this anytime soon. But I mean, you can see from the fill that there's evaporation already occurring. And so I'm like, I gotta get this cork out. This cork is probably garbage, and I gotta taste it now, or I'm gonna run the risk of losing it. So we'll do a blind, and we'll finish tonight with this bad boy if we can get it to 50. Like, I don't know, I'm probably gonna do it anyway. So whatever. But you guys be nice, like the video, that'd be great. A couple other points of note. The episode 2 weeks ago with Mash and Drum. Still not up on the podcast yet because I didn't upload it and Brian was busy. It is what it is. You guys know you get content from us when you get it. Entryproofpodcast.com, those where you can catch all of our previous episodes. And then in the next week or so, Brian will have the episode I did with Jason over at the Mash and Drum. That was awesome.
Good
If
episode,
you guys
too.
didn't catch that, yeah, I thought it was wonderful. So if you can always go watch that here on YouTube as well because all the live streams are still up here. Next week, Samantha from Bardstown Bourbon Company, like the head of bar, and she's been traveling a lot, representing their brand. She's going to be on. We'll see. I may go down to Chicago where they will be and interview her in person. Not likely, just given we've had more kid stuff. Like the baby had to go to the hospital again today. She's back home, but it's just been a mess. So we'll probably have to do it remotely. That said, should be a great episode next week as well. And
Do we want to talk about any of our emails that you and I have been going back and forth about, or is it too soon for that? Or
oh no, we can definitely talk about that. Why don't you share? Because we did lock down one. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, so later this summer we are going to be doing a Middle West spirits pick. So Tom's been able to share some samples with us, and there's some stuff that we were
some bangers
by. We're looking forward to that. I don't know what that's going to be like, but we're stonked on that. Stoked for the stonk. I got a chance to go to Justin's House of Bourbon here in Louisville. I knew they had a pick. I assumed that no one here knew who Midwest Spirits was, but after I tried it, and I was like, you know what? This does remind me of the one that Tom said that I really liked. It was sold out. So.
Oh wow! It's sold out at Justin's.
Yeah, I mean they've had it for at least a month, but apparently it's sold out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like pretty soon we need to book some more Starlight picks. So yeah. I'd like to diversify. a little bit first.
Then I was supposed to have a call already with Joe Henry at J. Henry here out of Wisconsin.
Right.
Right. And so that just got bumped to next Tuesday. He was busy he was actually on a tractor, so he just forgot about our call. But it looks like that's going to happen as well. So we should have a J. Henry pick coming maybe before the Middle West one. And then you had reached out to Doc Swinson. That's still up in the air, though. But it looks like Middle West and J. Henry are happening for sure. So if you guys want to make sure you get in on those, just make sure you go over to patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. Big thanks to those of you. Many of you guys who are in the chat today, a lot of you are already Patreon supporters. So cheers. Hopefully these picks were worth it. And we'll try and make sure anytime we do a pick, it is of equal banger level.
That's right.
What were you going to say? You were going to say something.
I think I was just going to say that the Doc Swinson's was just for an interview. I don't think there's anything we can get involved in.
Oh,
really there.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you're like, they're in. I'm like, they're in for a pick? Are you kidding me? That's awesome. How are we going to get out?
I'm sure people do this all the time. We should talk to Aaron at Smoke Wagon and be like, hey man, can we come toy around with a batch of uncut unfiltered with you? Like, we don't need to buy any of it, but like, we wouldn't mind like a couple of cases, but can we just come dabble?
Yeah. Well, kind of like our boy Matt over at ADHD did with Obtanium and the light whiskey. Yeah. He did the NASA Family Reserve batch. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle says he's with Matt. You're like physically with Matt right now? You're like with him? He's like there drinking whiskey with you? Because that would be awesome. Or is there a Matt in the... Oh, Matt Schwanda. Sorry. High West double rye pick would be awesome. Yeah, High West would also be fun. Park City is so nice. Park City, Utah. Awesome.
Yeah, get some ritual chocolate while we're there.
Yeah. All right, so let's pop this Elijah Craig, and then let's get into this blind. Cleaning glasses.
Dude, those old label Elijah Craig barrel proofs are the jam. You say you traded for that?
Yeah, I traded. I think I traded a Four Roses pick, and what was it? Oh, Remus Repeal Reserve. So I had to I really wanted one of these. I'm like, I may never get one, so I did.
That sounds like a good deal.
It was probably equal. I was certainly out cash, what I spent versus what he spent. Here we go. Dang it to heck.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, it just came right out, but there's like glue. Okay, we're going to be fine. The cork I was right about cork problems, guys.
That's anticlimactic.
Gosh. Yeah, this is why you don't let stuff sit too long. Drink your whiskey, dang it. Okay. I don't want this stuff in the whiskey. This is going to be a problem. Oh,
I picked up my second 140.2 proof Elijah Craig barrel proof.
This is a mess.
Tom knows what's up. We got a chance to try it. I don't think he thought it was all that special, but
come on, Tom, man. Come on. Sorry.
I want to apologize to everybody for this seemingly strobe effect going on my channel. I tried to, in order to attempt to see if I could keep the stream more streamy and less glitchy, I have all my settings on auto, which means it also has auto like light.
Okay. So we got that out without tainting the whiskey. The cork smells great, so we don't have cork taint, and I have replacement Elijah Craig corks.
I'm gonna need you to send me a sample of that whenever you send me my taster glasses.
Yeah, sure. You want to send me one of your hazmats back? Crap. Yeah. So this is the new Elijah Craig cork, and no fit. But I have a 1792 cork, and it's not. Oh, guys, we may have to decant this. No. This is a problem. Oh, look, a sample. I just found a Rossville Union barrel proof sample.
Drew, did you pick up anything in whiskey this week?
Great question. This will work for now. I don't know what that's from. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's small batch select. Did I pick anything up in whiskey? I don't think I did. Where was I? No, I did not. I'm gonna trade a guy. Guy locally really wanted a E.H. Taylor straight rye, and I had one. I like fine. It's not like my favorite, so I'm gonna get a Henry McKenna, which I love. I know I'm part of the problem, but I love them. And an Eagle Rare barrel pick. So 2 for 1.
Cool.
Yeah, those are some of my favorites. I'm like, yeah, sure. This is not one of my favorites. You really want to, I like to spread the wealth. People can't find stuff. I'm gonna get stuff I love that I can't get every day. So
good. That bottle looks I don't even know why they changed it.
It's so the bottle looks amazeballs, and the whiskey is so dark. Oh crap! All right, so pour this, let this air out for a second. I'm just TO'd about this cork situation. I may have to take
your
the
battery's
cork.
running low on your camera.
I know. I'm gonna swap that in just a second.
Okay. Everyone else in the chat, looks like Tom picked up an old Ezra 7. What's up, everybody? What'd you guys find this week? I mean, for me, it's been several weeks. I haven't seen you guys in forever.
Yeah, I mean, we thought you quit.
I've had a busy life. I'm back.
It's hard to do this with headphones. I'm like trying to walk around the bar without like cutting my headphones off. So I did make some stops at a few places, but Wisconsin is very dry right now. Not a lot of stuff. The Bardstown stuff was the most recent, but between the Pfeiffer Pavitt XO and the Prisoner, both of those had to get shipped into me through faithful members of the nation, which I appreciate immensely. Tom and Rod and I forget her name. I'm a terrible person. I am a terrible person. I did give her a shout out though on the Instagrams, and I should give her another shout out because she was amazing in helping me get that XO, which I really wanted. I saw Bardstown is doing a lot of barrel your own stuff now. They did a bottle your own of the Prisoner. It's not the XO, like extra aged, which is kind of a bummer. But
Matt, Buffalo Trace kosher wheat, nice man, nice. Got a Blood 07, sick.
Am I back? Am I live?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's getting hot down here. I think I've had more to drink than I actually realized.
We got a new kitten, but we're starting to think that it might have been a feral cat because it just doesn't want to be around humans, but it's slowly getting there. But Kristen was leaving work, and someone had found a box of kittens, but I guess there was one that was in one of the girls' cars, and they tried to get it, and then it ran away from them, and then it like fell from where they were in the parking garage, and they found it 4 stories down, and had like a busted nose, and this sucker survived, and it's like a little miracle cat, and so we were thinking about him ever since, like, man, hope he's okay. And then people who took him were like, they had taken him to the vet, and they're like, oh yeah, he checks out, and he's been able to eat and stuff. And then once it was like ready for home, we're like, bring it on, give us that kitty cat. But it still doesn't pick it up.
The nose on this is unreal, like so rich and sweet, and like chocolate covered cherries, the buttercream frosting note that I absolutely love. This is almost 140 proof. You would not know it, not even a little bit on the nose. We're having all kinds of problems today with the visuals.
No, it's just a Fuji glitch. It's just a Fuji glitch. Do you use the webcam app in order to?
No, I don't. It says I do, but I don't. Yeah.
What do you use to do it? I feel like I should do something else.
The heat comes through on the palate. Whew. But also so does the immense richness, and not cherries, deeper than that. Like, it's so deep, but it's not drying oak. Like, Lord knows how old this thing is. Oh my gosh. I'm glad that it's not like we don't have a problem here. I was worried with that cork. I'm sure it just leaked out instead of evaporated. But right. I thought I was boned there for a minute. Like, man, I gave up 2 bottles, and if this thing is oxidized or if we have cork taint, we do not.
We might have a hold on, I gotta try this. We might have a super secret.
Super secret of what?
Hold on. Give me a second.
This is so intense. Like, the sweetness is intense. The oakiness is intense. The heat is intense. The viscosity is viscous. It's like oily and sharp at the same time because it's so high proof. Like, I mean, this is probably the most high proof whiskey I've ever had because I haven't had a hazmat. Yeah, this is definitely the most high proof whiskey I've ever had. Yeah, really, really nice. So if you guys ever have a chance at one of these, pass on it or get it and send it to me. You're not going to find them on the shelf anymore. You got to kind of trade for them, but it's kind of worth it. It's really phenomenal.
Unlocking the secret flavors here by blending our 2 picks together.
Ooh, interesting. I thought about blending the apple brandy with Elijah Craig toasted because I wanted to get a little bit more oak on it and try and round out that raw oak finish. So I was going to add a little Elijah Craig toasted to that at some point. Maybe I'll do that now, actually. We'll save this blind. Maybe we'll do it on Instagram. Maybe, I don't know when we'll do it. But Andrew Beck sent a blind of 7, which I appreciate, Andrew. You're in the chat. Thanks, dog. Very generous, 7 whiskeys. But given that we're at 9:20 already, my daughter's sick. My baby was in the hospital today with, it seems like, a dairy intolerance. It's just been a thing. I was at the hospital yesterday for a thing. I'll spare you guys. Not pleasant. I'm fine, but weird stuff. I turned 30 and my body started doing things it really shouldn't do. Anyway, it's been rough. So I think we'll hang it up sooner rather than later, but yeah, that's all I was saying. What were you going to say? How's that blend you put together?
It's still really bitey. Kyle says he blended it with a Starlight Double Oak bourbon and it's really nice. I bet that would be nice because it's a little less rye bite.
Yeah, I don't think I would blend that rye with anything. It was so good. Real quick, this is an important thing. William asks, would I trade a Woodford Reserve chocolate malted rye for a E.H. Taylor single barrel? Every day. If you're giving up the malted rye for the single barrel, do it. Do it without asking questions. Do it right away because the E.H. Taylor is by far a superior product. Fred says, wait until you hit 50. Yeah, I know, man.
I thought I did try this before, but the other night I also had the 128.3 Woodford batch proof.
Yeah, how was that?
Solid bottle.
Good. They're very fine rare bourbon. Eric Sawyer let me try that when we were golfing, Swing Nation. Really nice. I liked that a lot. I tried to get that when it came out, but I just missed. It was around town. And I could have gone and gotten it, but my go-to liquor store, they said they could get one for me, and then they didn't. So then I was boned on the very fine rare, which is a bummer because I really liked it, but it's also fine.
The 128.3 is better than the very fine rare, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So this is a question for everyone who's in the chat. I was debating if I wanted to go back to Justin's House of Bourbon and pick up one of the Doc Swinson Alter Ego, like barrel finished bourbons. The rye was good, but I thought the bourbon was better. I thought about picking one up, do a little review on it, but I want to know if people are even interested. I don't even know who all has this product in their market. It wasn't in Kentucky until I saw it at Justin's House of Bourbon last week. So they've now come to Kentucky. I don't know where all else they're distributed.
I don't know what that is. So, I'm so unfamiliar with the Doc.
So Doc's, can you hear me still?
Yes, we can.
So Doc Swinson has their 15-year-old products, that we see pop up every so often. And then they have 2 other ones. They have, maybe they have more than 2 other ones. It's Alter Ego. It's like a rum finished rye.
I have that one.
Yeah. And then they have like a cognac rum finished bourbon or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize it was called Alter Ego.
They're both called Alter Ego.
Rum finished rye, which I enjoyed. I just lost my microphone or my headphones, so I can't hear you. But I enjoyed that rum finished rye. The rye tasted young. Overall, it was like, yeah, this is gonna be good. It just needs some more barrel time. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about that. I'm going to try this. So I've got this old Pirate bottle 1.75. I'm going to take the cork out of it and I'm going to put it in my Pirate bottle. And then I'm going to use this Four Roses cork in big. Oh, no. Every mouth is different.
Oh, no.
No.
I do have another bourbon that will be for Tuesday's video that I'm pretty sure is being slept on by most folks, and I'm super excited to talk about that one. So
yeah, well, based on my lack of knowledge of that, I would agree. I was sleeping on it, and then you're like, "It's amazing." I'm like, "Oh, well, no, I should try to find it."
Yeah, I think you'll be pretty surprised.
So the guy I traded for the Elijah Craig is very good. It did leak, yes, at some point, but it's wonderful. I think it was Tony. So Tony follows the channel. Tony, thanks for the deal, man. I appreciate working that trade. Thanks for helping me score a dream bottle. It's wonderful. I like it. Thanks. Cheers to you. Cork problems notwithstanding, not your fault. Just happens. And Elijah Craig bottles are notorious. The old Elijah Craig bottles are notorious for cork problems. So just is what it is.
Someone had asked in the chat, how old is the EC with the broken cork? 12 years.
I'm pretty sure it's
Elijah Craig.
Yeah, I'm
all
pretty
of
sure
Elijah Craig barrel proofs are age dated at least 12 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's one of the 2016 releases, right before they changed the bottle style in 2017.
130.
That said, it reminds me of. Sorry, what?
Say 138.8.
Yes. It's phenomenal. It's got to be one of the best bourbons I've ever had. It's so rich. It's just hot. Like, it's hard to get past the heat. I did add a couple of drops of water right now because it's crazy hot, but it's wonderful. I mean, these old Elijah Craigs, thankfully, I've got a few of them. But I'm going to be so sad when they're gone because they're just ridiculous. But I mean, it's like, don't sleep on the current Elijah Craig barrel proofs. Although I really, 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 if somebody wants to send me a sample, I would massively appreciate it because I haven't seen one yet. I'll buy a bottle if I see it. But the B521 is getting such shade, and I think it's proofism. I think it's that people don't like the low proof barrel proofs, which I actually do like. But Fred Minnick just trashed this. I'm like, is it that bad? And other people are like, no, it's not bad. It's very good. And so I'm like, I want to try it for myself because I know Elijah Craig very well. It's like my favorite brand, even more than like a Stag Junior. I love an Elijah Craig barrel proof. So the B521 I need to try at some point. I'm sure I'll be able to.
When you get into some of those older picks, like what you're trying now, I mean, these are on the level of like George T. Stagg. They're just, I mean, I don't know why the newer ones, they are great. But I will still say, I still think they're like a slight step down. There's a little bit more to the ones that were in this like 2016 and before. And what they give is like, it just puts it into an upper echelon of bourbon that puts it up there right along with like George T. Stagg and other stuff, which just makes it a great, while being expensive. If you're going after something super special, it's one of the better things you can go after these days.
Yeah, I mean, it tastes just super aged, but not overaged. So, it's a minimum of 12. We might have 15, 16-year-old barrels in here. Who knows? It just works really, really well. Oh, it looks like Jason from Mash and Drum also tanked B521. I like Jason, and Cam did it. Dang it. I might hate it. That's depressing. I mean, not everybody can, hit it out of the park every time, so that's fair. That said, I'd be disappointed in Elijah Craig for releasing a bad batch, especially at low proof, because I feel like that actually has a lot of potential to crush. I might have to go upstairs again. My sick daughter is just really struggling tonight.
Yeah, if you're gonna have to go upstairs again, you might as well just
sign it off. Yeah, we'll give her a minute and then cut the cord.
I will also say one of my friends was able to go on a Elijah Craig barrel proof pick just this last week, and I think they picked an 11-year.
Nice.
I think they got an 11-year that they said was just like a super standout. So I'll never
Yeah.
see it, I'm sure, but you know,
Yeah,
it'd be nice
Jason
if it did.
Jason at Mash and Drum with Scott from My Bourbon Journey, their barrel picking group, they also picked Elijah Craig barrel proof last week. I think it was a week ago Wednesday.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the age was they got, but okay. Well, dang, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna sign off. Thanks for tuning in. Obviously, thrilled with the Starlight picks. This Elijah Craig barrel proof is something really special. This old pirate bottle, but next
Hope
week
you
we'll be
guys
back.
enjoyed the Starlight picks.
It seemed you guys did from what I was seeing up
hope
in
you
the
guys are looking
chat.
forward to more, especially as we're booking more in the craft or just whatever. It looks like there are more things coming down the line that we want to share with you guys. So
stay tuned next
if you
week.
missed out,
Brian's
Yeah,
got
thanks,
a
Aaron.
fun video. Follow Brian's channel, guys, at Abandoned Bourbon. Brian dropped a video. What was the why am I blanking? You dropped one
uncut unfiltered.
Right. I wanted to hear your opinion on that because generally hyped. So he did uncut unfiltered this week. Next week, wait and see. But total sleeper that you need to go get. So I need to go find this. And then on my channel, we'll be doing Jim Beam. So what bourbon should you buy? My assessment of values against quality for Beam Distillery. And then on Thursday, we've got Sam from Bardstown Bourbon Company. So a lot of good crap.
It's a loaded week, man.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be awesome. So, I mean, it may make sense for you if you like such content and dang good barrel picks to go to patreon.com/entryproofpodcast. Or it may not. You do you. But anyway, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys had a good night and have a good rest of your evening. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remember to keep it neat.
Cheers, everybody.